Welcome to Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, a podcast exploring cult classics, subculture, and geek media. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And we will be your tour guides today for this deep dive of Gary Goddard's 1987 sword and sorcery plus space opera, Masters of the Universe.
I'm glad you got that swords and sorcery in there. I think that's absolutely critical.
Yeah, Masters, or MOTU as people call it now in the age of abbreviations.
Yeah, I'm not going to call it that.
It really straddles that line between sword and sorcery and space opera, and that's something I love about it. I love that setting.
Yeah, so this came out in 1987, and basically in the 5 years after that movie had come out, it was all over cable. It was on the premium channels first, and I remember when I was a kid, we had a couple of those, and so I would watch this constantly. And then it made its way to the second tier ones, like the TNT or USA or whatever they were back then, and I watched it even more. So this was probably like my 20th watching of the movie.
Easily. I found I know the dialogue to this movie.
Oh, yeah,
most
sure.
of it, especially anything Skeletor says, I have memorized. I realized what a big impact Skeletor had on my partially my speech pattern, but my writerly voice especially.
Oh, nice.
I think I patterned it after Skeletor, or Frank Langella's portrayal of Skeletor.
Yeah, and worth mentioning, 4-time Tony winner, kind of a big deal of an actor, playing Skeletor.
Yeah, Frank Langella, God status. He's so good. He makes this movie.
He's amazing in this movie. And so basically during the 5 years after this came out, when it was on cable all the time, those were prime formative years for young Davey. I was big into my D&D phase, which hasn't ended, so I'm not sure it's a phase.
It's not a phase.
Yeah, and it's a lifestyle. I had begun my D&D lifestyle, and so it was huge for me. Anything with swords and sorcery on the screen, and of course Dolph Lundgren does an amazing He-Man.
This is only his third acting role.
Nice.
Dolph Lundgren he's a very interesting dude. I don't know when we want to get into that, but
I mean, go ahead.
Because first of all, he's a scientist.
Yeah, he's like straight up brilliant.
Yeah. And he just sort of he's one of these people that just because of his look, being this 6'6" Swedish muscle god, he just sort of lucks into things. He was
it never hurts to be handsome.
Yeah. I know. Can you believe the success this handsome white man had? Yeah, it's like he basically lucked into modeling just because someone saw him and was like, you should be a model. And he was dating Grace Jones, which got him into Moonraker or View to a Kill. He was in one of the James Bond movies, just basically you should be in this movie.
Yeah, you look awesome. Let's get you on a screen.
Yeah, you're definitely one of the Russian guys that James Bond kills.
Yeah.
And then, which led to him being the villain in Rocky IV. And Ivan Drago,
which was awesome.
He's a monster in that movie too, absolutely terrifying. And then this was his first starring role.
So as amazing as He-Man was, and I watched He-Man cartoons all through my childhood, I absolutely loved them. I was always a Skeletor stan.
Yeah,
I've been just pro Skeletor forever. Like my favorite He-Man toy was Skeletor and Panther. Man, I wish he had made it into the movie, but can't have everything.
This movie, it had a budget, I think, of $20 million, and it came in
22 million,
but it came in more around 17 million. Because I watched this documentary called Electric Boogaloo, which is about the Canon Film Group. And kind of that crazy Mickey Mouse operation that they ran over there. And so they were producing at this time 3 movies that were considerably higher budget than anything else they had done. This one, Superman 4, and Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh man, that's a great one. Probably the only arm wrestling movie you'll ever hear of.
They thought it was going to set off a big arm wrestling fad across America, and it did not materialize.
Yeah.
But basically all 3 of these movies more or less led to the bankruptcy of that company. And
yeah, this movie like lost $5 million.
Yes, and they were all stealing budget from each other. The three movies they were producing at the same time.
Okay, so it was slated for 22, but they didn't actually get 22.
No, much closer to 17.
Okay, well, I mean, it made just over 17 at the box office.
So that's a wash. So you lose money when you account for production.
Yeah, for sure.
And promotion. That's the big thing.
Yeah. So this movie means a lot to both of us, I think. And it means a lot to this podcast.
Definitely.
Since before this podcast existed, we have our outro, which is 100% from this movie.
Yeah. I don't know. This is my favorite of all the movies we've covered. This is my favorite movie we've watched.
Oh wow! No, so Dune is mine,
Yeah.
but this is high in the pantheon of young Dave movies. So I mean, I'm excited that we got to this one. There was never a doubt that we were going to do this movie.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of when.
We just kind of got the push because the new animated series is dropping on Netflix. It's already out by the time you're downloading this.
Yeah.
And so we thought we'd get some of that sweet algorithm, surf on a little bit of that, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. I'm down. So what have you been up to?
Well, this morning was the second record store day drop. So I was up bright and early, lined up there with all the wet palmed record geeks outside Second Avenue Records. There was apparently a big shootout or something on Third Avenue last night. So the police had a considerable part of the neighborhood roped off. So that was
keep Portland weird.
Yeah, a little exciting. A lot of shell casings on the ground.
Good times.
But it didn't scare off some people, I think, from camping out overnight at the record store to get that early spot. There's people there in lawn chairs, and they seemed like they'd been there for a minute.
So what'd you pick up?
I got the big draw was the new Czarface album because it's called Czar Noir. It's got a kind of homage to the Secret Wars cover where they unveiled the black Spider-Man suit, and it's got Czarface in a black version of his costume.
Cool.
And this is a vinyl-only release. No streaming, no CDs, no tapes.
You think that's a mistake, like marketing-wise for him?
I doubt it. I don't think that. I think vinyl collecting is one of the main ways you can actually monetize selling music.
Sure, for sure.
So I think, I'm sure someday this stuff someone's going to put it up on YouTube to stream it or something like that.
It'll be on YouTube soon.
But because this is an exclusive thing and because Diver Corey kind of press ganged me into going to get him a copy of it, and I was like, well, if I get you a copy, then I want a copy.
They'll let you buy two?
No. My loving wife dragged herself out of bed at 6 a.m. on a Saturday and came and stood in line with me down there.
I guess Corey owes her a debt of gratitude.
He does. He definitely does.
So because I've stood in line, or I've waited for limited edition disc release, and they never let you buy multiples. Or if they do, it's like they'll let you buy two, so you can have a display and a thrower. But that's maximum.
Yeah, it's like if you need to buy two, you need two people. That's how it works. But that was the big thing. I also got like a reissue of the first Fear album, first Cro-Mags album, Sisters of Mercy BBC sessions.
Nice.
I'm really looking forward to playing.
That's cool.
Yeah, so cool stuff.
Yeah, Barrowlands. We're working on a Sisters of Mercy cover right now for a future release. So that's
exciting.
Inside scoop.
What about you? What have you been up to lately?
I've been just super busy with like normal stuff, like dentist appointments and dropping Carrie off for the airport and picking her up and all that stuff.
What people call, air quotes, adulting?
Yeah, I hate that word.
Me
because
too.
it implies that you are a child who's doing adult-like things, whereas I I don't fancy myself a kid. So I was just doing the shit that I do.
Yeah.
And anyway, the fun thing that I did recently, though, is I played in a Werewolf the Apocalypse live action game.
What?
Yeah, it was fun.
You LARPed?
Yeah, I LARPed. Yeah, no shame in my game. I've been a LARPer since I was a teenager. And there's a new Werewolf the Apocalypse LARP started up, a post-pandemic game. Happens twice a month, and it's fun. I had a great time. There were, the player base is probably like, I don't know, 25-ish people.
Okay. I thought you said 25 years old. And I was like, no, it isn't. Don't lie to me.
I would say that the players are mostly millennials.
Really?
I would call it a millennial game. It's the guy who's running it is in his 40s, obviously a Gen Xer, but it's not an older group. I would say I'm on the older end of the group.
So mostly people in their 30s
Yeah.
or 20s? Are there 20s?
I would say there's a lot of 30s, and there are definitely some 20-somethings.
Wow.
Like without a doubt, there are some young people there.
A new generation.
Yeah, people I had never known, which is great because I've been LARPing in this metro area for a long time. I know a lot of the old stalwarts, and some of them were there, and that's cool. And but then there were tons of fresh faces that I didn't know, and they don't know me, which is awesome because that means that I get to have like fresh interactions with them, not rehashes of things we've done in previous things, whatnot. So
no one has grudges against you that go back to high school.
Yeah, well, I don't think many of those people still stick around anymore. But yeah, I had a great time. I really enjoyed myself. I'm gonna go back. It's really fun. I mean, you're welcome to come if you're interested. Ooh. Twice a month, Friday evenings.
What tribe is your werewolf?
I'm playing a Silver Fang, which if your divers are unaware, they're kind of the political leader types. They call themselves the First Tribe. They're the fancy werewolves.
The aristocrats.
Yeah. That's what I'm playing.
Interesting. Very cool.
So yeah, I had a great time with that. So how about we move on to podcast fuel? What are we drinking here?
Well, today we are drinking the Hell Lager from Wayfinder. It's a Hellas Lager, but I'm gonna call it a Skelis Lager.
Ooh.
To bring it in, and it has a cool skull on the can. That was what grabbed me. And it's just a good, crisp, light, refreshing, brilliantly effervescent with floral noble hop aroma. German style lager. This is Wayfinder is one of my go-to breweries.
Yeah, Wayfinder's great.
And this is one of my go-to beers, honestly.
Their tap room in Portland is always good to go to. It's a winner.
Love it. I was just there the other day. It was like baking hot. We're sitting out on that patio.
I don't like the patio. I'm not a patio sitter. But this is good. This is what I expect from a lager, like a Hellas lager. This is it's just really good. I highly approve of this. I like this better than the last episode's beer, which was an unconventional lager. This I would call a more conventional lager.
Yeah, uber traditional lager.
Yeah, it's very good.
Well, cool. Well, why don't we take a break and get into this deep dive of Motu 87?
We'll call it Masters of the Universe.
All right, welcome back, divers. Let's get into this. This movie opens up with this gorgeous matte painting of Castle Grayskull. I think that's by David Negron. I couldn't quite get that confirmed.
Yeah, that painting is awesome. I want that framed in my house. That's awesome.
I saw it on a heritage auction.
Did you?
Yeah,
like the original?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's out there. That's in the collector's market if you want to track that down.
I don't even know if I need the original. I'd be okay with a print or something.
Print will do.
I'm not like fancy like that.
Yeah. But anyway, so and there's a voiceover just kind of explaining the situation in Eternia and the premise of the movie.
Yeah, they give you like the 15-second lore dump, which is hyper thin, but that's okay.
Yeah, good enough. It gets you there.
Yeah, and then they do a credit roll with like rainbow graphics and stuff, and I'm like, what the hell?
It's very both Bill Conti's score and the kind of rainbow graphics flashing at you are very evocative of the Dick Donner Superman movies.
Okay.
The score really sounds very similar to John Williams, to the point where like it started playing and I go, that's a John Williams score. And then it goes, music by Bill Conti. And it's like, what? Bill Conti doing an impression of John Williams?
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, it's this music. Like, I remember sitting in the theater watching this movie, and you feel like you're going into something very epic.
Yeah, like, this is important. It's like, this is like a big ass deal.
This is not a cartoon. This is a very serious grown up movie I'm watching.
Yeah, exactly. So, I love that after the credit roll, it opens on Skeletor. Yeah. Like, and he's like doing his full on Darth Vader thing.
That's what I wrote too. Full Darth Vader swag. He comes in and
it's sick. He just walks in like this has a lot of allusions to Star Wars.
Yes, a lot of them. And how fucking cool is the Castle Grayskull throne room? Oh, yeah. That is an amazing set.
That set is great. They use it a lot.
It's the whole budget of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
But it's 2 sound stages. They tore down the wall between 2 huge sound stages and built this thing out. And they used the shit out of it.
As they should. It was really cool. And in this opening scene, we also meet Evil Lynn, who's
super hot.
Played by Meg Foster, and it's just she's really great in this movie. Like, I have nothing but positive things to say about Meg Foster's portrayal of Evil Lynn.
Yeah, you go through her IMDb, it's mostly TV stuff, and she's just a really intense looking lady because she has those super pale eyes.
Yeah.
But certainly, like, at 8 years old or however old I was seeing this, she pushed my baby buttons. I was like, what am I feeling? What does this lady make me feel?
See, I was just like, oh man, that lady is badass. Like, cause this portrayal is just super, super good. And you know, it's funny cause it had been a long time since I'd watched this movie, easily 10 years. I had almost forgotten about the sorceress plot line. Where Skeletor has sorceress there. What an original name, by the way. And she's captive, and she looks all young, and he's like basically talking smack to her.
Yeah, he basically it's real boss move. You know, he keeps her prisoner there in her house.
Like full job, but he has Princess Leia there, like by his throne.
But he's not sexualizing her. No. It's just like he keeps her there like a bird so that she can be like, you know, talk nice to him, and he'd be like, oh no, I don't think so, sorceress.
Yeah. And the whole point where he's basically interrogating her, but also kind of informing her, like he's villain-splaining to her, or monologuing, if you will. It really reminded me of Vader talking to captured Leia.
Yeah,
it had that vibe, and
you're part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor.
Yeah, and it was really cool. And you know, the thing I will address it early is all of the character names in the whole Masters of the Universe thing are just basic and childish.
Yeah, that's all intentional.
Skeletor, Evil Lynn, Sorceress, He-Man, and they were just for toys. Like, the toys came first.
Yeah.
And then the cartoon and all of that.
And so another documentary I watched kind of in prep for this.
The Toys That Made Us?
I didn't. I watched
the movie. That one.
That's a good episode. But I watched The Power of Grayskull. It's a documentary from 2017. That's they call the definitive history of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Oh man.
And it covers a lot of the same ground as the Toys That Made Us episode, but just stretched out to feature length. So longer interviews, more artwork. Gotcha. You know, it's just a deeper version of the same stuff. But all that stuff came from focus testing, right? Like, they're like, what words do you respond to, kids? And they kind of pick, they're like, He-Man. Like, they like that. It just resonates with children.
Yeah, so even though we're talking about this like it's like a cool, deep movie, these are just toys made characters.
This is a movie made to sell toys.
Yeah. And one thing in here that I like a lot is The stormtroopers.
Mm-hmm.
They just look super rad.
Do you like? Oh, you like the black stormtroopers. So
Yeah.
William Stout, who is the primary designer for this movie, that's his big regret is the stormtroopers, because he thought they looked too much like the Star Wars stormtroopers.
Yeah, I mean, they do. They look more badass. They look very evil. And their weaponry is like way more like grim and realistic looking.
Yeah, their blaster rifles have like this monster blade on them.
And they almost kind of look like Sardaukar weapons or something.
Yeah.
Like, I liked them. I thought they were really cool.
I think they're cool too. And I think that takes us into our next scene kind of nicely, because Skeletor does this big hollow projection out to all of Eternia to basically say, I've got Castle Grayskull. I run Eternia now. No one can stop me. And then we see our hero, He-Man.
Yeah, so this reminded me of, this is the equivalent of Eternian social media. If you don't post it, it didn't happen.
Yeah, he did. He did a Trump tweet out to everyone.
Like, I'm your president now, hashtag,
Yeah.
Make Eternia great again.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, and He-Man's like, don't like.
He gives it the angry react.
He does. He watches the hologram. He gives it an angry react. And next thing we know, he is wrecking stormtroopers. In my notes, it says stormtroopers exist just to get killed.
Oh, yeah. Well, in every universe.
And there's no blood. There's definitely blood in the script, but He-Man definitely is killing stormtroopers. There's no way to get around this.
No, he slashes the dude across the neck with the sword.
And then he pulls a knife out of his boot and throws it at the other guy.
Yeah.
It sticks him in the gut.
So one thing, if you are not a He-Man adherent, if this isn't like steeped in your blood like it is for us, understand that this is literally a barbarian with like, he has shoulder armor and like a loincloth thing and like calf high boots and a sword. So it's a barbarian fighting space stormtroopers with laser rifles.
Yeah.
It is totally genre bending.
Yeah.
But for us, it just seems like, okay, that happens. That's the thing.
Space opera is like the corner of sci-fi that's the closest to fantasy.
And this just tips it further.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, when they were making the toys to try to sell, they just put everything in the Masters of the Universe.
Yeah. Well, they're like, what's hot? Fantasy and Star Wars. And they're like, jam them together.
Yeah, let's do it.
Why not?
Barbarian against a wizard with sci-fi. And that's it.
And you accept it because you're 5 years old.
Yeah, and I mean, these laser effects from these rifles are kind of cheesy, but I'm with it. It's cool. It's not a big deal.
They're not far off of Star Wars.
Yeah, it's good. And then Man-at-Arms and Tila show up and help finish off the stormtroopers. And I really like Man-at-Arms in this movie. I think he's one of my favorite characters.
I do too, and he's one of the closest to the cartoon version of Man-at-Arms.
Yeah.
Like basically
It's like a grizzled veteran.
And he's almost in his like cartoon accurate costume, and
It's similar.
they just colored, desaturated it, and made it
it's
all
like less orange and green and stuff.
Yeah, it's just sort of all matte blue.
It's tactical, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like because I mean, I guess orange and green, maybe that's camouflage-ish or something.
In the Badlands of Eternia.
Yeah, something like that. But
Who
here,
knows?
Man-at-Arms and his daughter Tila, they show up and they help He-Man dispatch these stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And they rescue this little creature that they had taken captive.
Yeah, this little Muppet in a sack, and he comes like bumbling his way out, and he looks cool. He looks like a little person in heavy prosthetics.
Yeah,
and
it's Billy
makeup.
Barty is a very famous little person actor. Was in every movie every movie before Willow that has a little person in it. Billy Barty is in it,
and he's pretty good in this, and I enjoy it. But just because I was watching this with Carrie, it's right at this point she says, "This is already a better movie than Labyrinth." And I just thought to myself, yeah, I guess it kind of is. Like, I'm way more entertained by this than the girl in the park.
I'm not prepared to co-sign that statement, but I certainly love this movie more than Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
but this was our shit when we were little boys.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So it's gonna come with a bit of that. Mm-hmm. So this little Muppet guy is named Gwildor. Gwildor.
Yeah.
Whatever. And that costume is dope.
Yeah.
It's straight up.
He obviously can't see out like any more than just his left eye. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I started paying attention to it. He's like, Man-at-Arms holds his hand a lot and leads him around. And
it's very much like the dwarf in Labyrinth.
Yeah, when you see him in long shots, he's feeling around out in front of him because he can't see what's in front of him. So it's like, hats off to Billy Barty, just probably for not a lot of money, risking his life in this Muppet costume. Yeah,
and so I kind of lost a little track at this point. So at this point, it cuts back to Skeletor.
Well, they go...
Or He-Man and all of them go to Gwildor's his lab.
His Hobbit hole / Yoda hut.
Which was very reminiscent of the kind of science room in Dark Crystal. That had the big like astrolabe thing in it. But this is sort of like that. It reminded me of the Dark Crystal
I could
scene.
see that. It's it's a little it's sciencey, techie, but also sort of
like a wizard's workshop.
Yeah, both, because he's sort of like he says he's a locksmith and an inventor.
But he's kind of a techno wizard.
Yeah, it is very wizardy, the stuff he does, because he's the inventor of the cosmic key. And they figure out that that's how Skeletor got into Castle Grayskull.
And I just want to comment on the cosmic key. I really think that this was lazy writing. It's just a MacGuffin. It's not really that great of a plot device.
So you're going to love this because it harkens back to another episode. The cosmic key, the stand-in for the boom tubes from...
Is it?
Yeah.
They just wanted to have boom tubes from DC, and so they made a cosmic key. So
the cosmic key is just like the mother box and the boom tube. Like, that's what they were copying. And you consistently, you don't like boom tubes, and you're down on cosmic keys too.
I don't like mother boxes, and I don't like cosmic keys, just because I don't think it's interesting to have a super device. Like, it's too tropey. But this movie is just hella tropey. I just wanted to put that out there. Otherwise, the divers might think that I have no hate for anything in this. But no, I do.
You just don't understand that the universe is music.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
That's why we have to have Kevin. But we'll meet him later.
Yeah. But like you said, we cut back to Skeletor villain-splaining at Castle Grayskull. And I have my notes. Frank Langella is the American Christopher Lee.
You think so?
He's also Dracula.
Oh, man. No, I have to go and watch his Dracula.
I know. That's what I kept thinking the whole time.
Skeletor is Dracula? Okay. Now I got to watch that Dracula. I was talking about vampires and Dracula and stuff the other night, and it was just like, yeah, I just want to do more vampire movies. Maybe that's not good for the podcast, but that's my jam.
There's certainly, I mean, we need to throw some werewolf movies in there to balance it out, so we don't become too vamp heavy.
Well, I mean, I play werewolf in games.
So we alternate.
I love werewolves.
We do the hunger, but then the howling, and you just kind of go back and forth. But anyways, Gwildor has the idea, or he lets them know that they can get into the sorceress's force field with the cosmic key.
Yeah, so he's like, we got a teleport device here, dude.
Yeah, but they don't want to activate it too soon because Skeletor will know where they are.
Yeah, he'll be able to track it.
So
he also has a cosmic key.
Yes. And so they go to sneak in to Castle Grayskull, and they're kind of pushed out the door because the stormtroopers find them. If I'm remembering.
Yeah, they're attacking the lab, and so they have to do like a hasty teleport, and they go to Castle Grayskull.
Yeah, and they talk to the sorceress,
who's locked in a force field thing.
and Skeletor does the whole Darth Vader thing again, where, or I guess this is more Jabba, like when Leia goes to free Han Solo, and then Jabba's like, "Ha ha! I was here all along."
Yeah, I noticed that Skeletor is really big on not doing stuff. He likes to just like watch shit happen around him
and order people around.
Yeah, he doesn't interact a lot. He's not a doer.
That's called delegating. As good leadership.
Is it? The best leaders lead by example.
Yeah. So basically, when Skeletor and his group show up, our whole gang has to teleport somewhere in a hurry. And they teleport to Earth because the budget couldn't keep us on Eternia anymore.
And don't forget, the mechanical claw makes is first appearance.
Oh,
it
yeah.
shoots back out through the portal and
grappler
grabs the key and brings it with them through the portal.
I found that's all very exciting when you're a little kid. Like, this is really good tension as a kid.
I was like, oh, forgot about the grapple thing. That's cheese. Okay, whatever.
They use it a few times.
They use it a lot of times. And then they show up and they're in this strange new land. And they're like, what's that sound? It's something very large. And it's a cow.
Yeah.
And Gwildor is... It is now clear that Gwildor is the Ewok or the Jar Jar or whatever.
He's the comic relief.
He is the comic relief. He tries to become the Cow Whisperer.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to
what a hideous cry. I mean, to this day, I literally think that every time I hear a cow moo.
A hideous cry.
I go, what a hideous cry. That voice, Billy Barty's voice plays in my head.
And they agree that they're gonna like split up and go look around and see what's up. And this is where we get our first intro of the all important line, where when they're breaking up, she says, "Good journey."
Yeah, everyone says "good journey" to each other.
And I was like, yes.
And they do the little 2-finger like Scouts honor thing to each other, and they're "good journey."
Yeah, I was like, yes, good journey. That's what you say. And they split up, and then it cuts over to the restaurant.
Yeah, Robbie's Rib Shack.
And we've got Julie in there who's talking with her coworker about how she's got to move away and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This isn't very good acting here. This is kind of a bad scene.
Oh, you're young Courtney Cox.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a hater on Courtney Cox, and she mostly does decent in this movie. This is not her best scene.
Well, and it's very corny, this whole thing. Like
the lines aren't that good.
Yeah.
The other actor that she's trying to play off of isn't that good.
Yeah, for some reason, Julie, who works in this like country fried rib shack in East LA County, which seems very incongruous or whatever, but it's she's her parents have died, and she's gonna move to New Jersey to kind of start over, and she's gonna leave her boyfriend. She's made a lot of big immature decisions. Basically.
Yeah. She's deciding to leave her life, yet for some reason she's going to spend the rest of the evening with this boyfriend that she's leaving.
Yeah. This is her last night in town before she goes off to bright New Jersey to find
the Garden State.
Yeah, to find her new life. Yeah, I mean, whatever. She's a 17-year-old girl making bad choices.
And I just want to say, I really had hoped that, like when I was a kid, I really wanted this movie to be in Eternia, like a battle in Eternia, like a struggle or something. I don't know, like the movie Krull or something.
Yeah.
That's all fantasy all the time. I wanted that. I really didn't want modern real world. I did not want fantasy plus
Earth.
real world plus Earth.
Yeah.
I don't like the trope. To this day, I don't like the trope.
Yeah.
The characters that irritate me the most are the Earthlings.
So it's worth saying, I think if this movie had been a larger budget movie and they had gone with like the earlier versions of the script, that it probably would have been a 2-hour long R-rated movie.
That would have been
But
dope.
it always went to Earth in the middle. Like that was always part of every version of the story.
Okay. Well, that's not a choice I would have made.
Yeah. No, I remember being like, what? When that happened as a kid too. Like I was just like, why are we here? Why are we at a rib shack?
Yeah, I thought that was really jarring, and it wasn't entertaining to me. But so she leaves the rib shack and she gets into Kevin's car with him, her boyfriend, who's picking her up from work.
Kevin's a cool rocker guy.
And air quotes cool. He plays keyboard in the band, which keyboard can be cool, but not in his kind of band. Like,
I don't know. Kevin seems like a pretty cool dude.
Kevin seems like he was written to be a cool guy, but the acting made me not like him. I just thought, dude, you're being like super insensitive to your lady. You're being a dick. And she's like, so you're gonna come see my sound check? Who gives a fuck about your sound check, Kevin? Sound check ain't shit.
But he's playing like the high school dance.
Yeah, he's playing the high school dance. Yeah. So I just thought that was like whatever.
But cut to our heroes who have everyone but He-Man's the only one doing real reconnaissance.
Yeah.
Everyone else has ended up at Robbie's rib shack.
Like, I'm hungry. And of course, Gwildor uses the claw and he steals a bucket of chicken or a bucket of ribs or whatever. And he's sitting there drinking the sauce all over his beard. And then of course, Tila and Man-at-Arms show up and they start eating. And Tila's like, what about these little sticks that they put the food on?
Yeah. And Man-at-Arms, the old soldier, he's like, those are rib bones.
And she's like, this used to be an animal? How barbaric.
Yeah.
I guess Tila's a vegan.
Yeah, I think Tila and Gwild are both, because he's also very like unnerved that they're eating meat. Man-at-Arms, he's been out in the shit for a while.
He's like, I went 30 days with no rations.
Yeah, he's like, I do what I have to do to survive.
Yeah. So I thought that was, I mean, I like Man-at-Arms there, and I thought it was a fun scene. I think that they're really trying hard to add these little chuckle moments with Gwildor and whatnot.
Cut to Julie and Kevin at the cemetery.
Yeah, this scene should have been cut. It was lame. And I want to call out Kevin, played by Robert Duncan McNeil. Shit actor.
Ooh, ouch.
I wanted to say it by name.
I think he has, maybe he's not a great actor, but his character has a good point. It definitely is not her fault that her parents died.
No.
And she shouldn't have to like run away from her whole life. Although she's an adult and probably has life insurance money that she got from her dead parents. And if she wants to move across the country and start over, that's her prerogative too.
That's true. I mean, and we don't know. Maybe the house is being sold and she can't live there anymore.
Yeah.
Have no idea.
It doesn't matter though, because she's about to get caught up in some sci-fi nonsense. Because the cosmic key somehow landed in the cemetery.
Yeah, they find the cosmic key, and it's so funny because like he picks it up and they like start making noise, and he's like, oh, it's a synth, or it's an instrument.
It's a Japanese synthesizer.
And I was just like, that is literally what every synth nerd would do and think. They just start fucking with it, because those people who are enchanted by the weird tech sounds and stuff, they just go full whole hog into it.
Yeah, he can play that thing, like make a tune on it immediately. Like he's like,
yeah,
like he comes up with this melody that's not bad.
Yeah,
I guess he's a good keyboard player.
Yeah, he's definitely a song maker, as Gwildor
calls it. Yeah, a tone master.
And so then it cuts to Skeletor back in the throne room,
because when you fuck with the cosmic key, the other one lights up.
Yes, and I want to know, why is Skeletor such a shitter to Evil Lyn all the time? He like talks smack to her constantly, and she's nothing but loyal and competent.
I don't know. She's nothing but competent for sure. She later in the movie fucks off and abandons him.
I don't think that's fucking off and abandoning. I think that's a tactical withdrawal that Skeletor should have heeded as well.
Fair, but
They were losing.
Yeah, let's not get ahead of that. But you're right. He shits on Evelyn for no. She's a good lieutenant, and he's unnecessarily cold to her.
Yeah,
he's a villain.
He's quick to clarify. It will be mine, not yours, bitch. Mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought, man, you don't win any friends like that. And then we have a scene exactly like the Vader interviewing bounty hunters scene, the No Disintegration's famous scene with the mercenaries.
It's another one where the dialogue has stuck with me for my entire life. Anytime I see 4 people, curious quartet. That's what I think when I see hey, here's four dudes.
So who's your favorite mercenary?
It's a tough one.
I mean, but just, you got to choose one.
Just one.
That's your dude.
So, all right, I never can choose just one.
You can choose just one.
I'm gonna clarify. I'm making clear. Now it's Beastman.
Okay.
But Beastman was old hat when the movie came out.
Yeah.
So it was Blade at the time.
Okay.
I had the Blade action figure. I didn't have the Karg or the Sarad action figures.
Yeah, so I'm with you. Blade was my pick as a kid when I watched the movie. I was all about Blade. He has the cyber eye thing with the little side head thing, blade thing, and he uses 2 swords, which is dope. But I mean, Beastman was always one of my favorites from the cartoon. I always loved Beastman. So those 2 are the winners. The other 2, whatever.
Sarad, the lizard guy, is pretty cool, but he just doesn't get much to do. So Anthony DeLongis is Blade,
who's like a famous stuntman.
Yes, and he's also like the sword fighting coordinator for the movie. Like he choreographed all the fight scenes.
You know, the scenes where he's sword fighting and him and Dolph, and we'll get to that, him and Dolph Lundgren are fighting are pretty good. But there are some other combat scenes that aren't very good.
I think they're mostly shot badly. I think that comes down on Gary Goddard more than DeLongis' choreography, for sure.
Yeah, and I really liked Blade. I thought he was pretty cool. But I also thought it was funny because he sends them after her because they now know where the cosmic key is. Or I mean, they send them after the cosmic key, which happens to be in the hands of 2 teens. I don't know the question mark. Are they teens?
This is she's not sticking around for graduation. So they're 17, 18, 19 at the oldest.
Okay. And so they go and these 4 mercenaries cannot catch a young lady in a gym.
They stomp a mud hole in the janitor, though.
That's true. I mean, but that's not the point. They fail. 4 mercenaries. This is the best that Attorney and Mercenaries have to offer. They can't catch a teenage girl and her shitty keyboard boyfriend.
Well, I don't know if you ever saw the Masters of the Universe cartoon. Skeletor's minions are not competent. That's part of the story. Like, they just never are very good at winning.
Yeah, but, so she runs off and she's trying to get away, and she gets separated from Kevin, of course.
Oh, because Kevin went to the music store to go see what his buddy at the music store thinks of the
Japanese synth.
Yeah, exactly.
And so she runs out back, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And she runs into the arms of a nearly naked barbarian, and that's normal.
You know,
he's not much different looking than Blade.
We went all around with this, me and Lisa, talking about like how realistic is it when she goes to this naked Swedish man in panties and a bondage daddy harness,
mantis.
Yeah. How would the traumatized brain react? And I think I'm willing to give this a plausible because He-Man is soft-spoken and reassuring. And he's
very handsome.
He's very handsome. He makes her feel safe. He tells her he's going to help her. And then he picks her up in his big Swedish arms and carries her off. And she's just been through some shit. And so she goes with it. He's not the beast man, right? He's not a lizard guy.
He doesn't attack her.
He's not a bad guy or a guy that was trying to stab her. He gives her a hug, tells her she's going to be safe. Gives her a gun.
And so why is He-Man doing this? Like, does he do this like with every scared lady? Like,
that's what heroes do.
That's just what he does.
Yeah.
Okay.
He-Man
I'm trying to find Prince Adam's motivation.
Yeah. They really just did away with that Prince Adam plot in this movie. It's not acknowledged. He's always He-Man, 100%
and Battle Cat's not here either. I mean, they got rid of a lot of important things.
Yeah.
And I also want to say Carrie made a shout out, no Orko, and that sucks.
Gwildor is the Orko.
Orko would have been better than Gwildor.
Like, Gwildor walks around on his 2 feet and Orko flies, and that's not in the budget.
They can't afford that.
Yeah.
So then they get ambushed, of course, and He-Man does He-Man things.
He just smashes everybody.
He just kicks everyone out, kicks everyone's ass. And at a certain point, we have him, and he's taken one of the laser rifles, and he's shooting them. And I just want to say that barbarian plus laser rifle has got to be one of my favorite genders.
Your favorite gender?
You haven't seen that meme?
No.
There's a meme going around. Whatever. If you haven't seen it, it's this. They'll say like random thing plus random thing, and then there's this guy, and he's got kind of an interested look on his face, and it says "Gotta be one of my favorite genders," and so it just combines two funny things. And so barbarian plus laser rifle, gotta be one of my favorite genders, because this is such a great look on him.
I do. I mean, every time he's dual wielding.
Sword and rifle,
a long gun, and a fucking huge sword.
Yeah, but he's huge. He
can. I know. It's like most people couldn't. Both weapons are two-handers, and he's one-handing both of them, and it's like, oh my god, you're a monster.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. I love that. I love that style. I love that scene. It's just it's cool.
And you see, Blade has. You can tell he's got a hard-on for sword fighting He-Man. Like, he's like, I've been waiting a long time for this. Like, he wants to match blades with He-Man, and he comes up wanting.
It sucks because in this, before he fights Blade, he Beastman jumps on his back, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're about to get your throat slashed or something. I thought like this is the movie version. This isn't the cartoon where you're just gonna flip him off your back and he's done. But that's exactly what happens. Yeah. Beastman does nothing.
Furry fool carries over from the cartoon to the movie. He is still just a furry fool.
Yeah, he's... I wanted him to be more badass because I like Beastman.
But how badass is Dolph Lundgren? Dolph Lundgren can throw a fool like crazy. Like, he throws so many people in this movie.
Yeah, I hope the stuntman got paid well.
Yeah, it's like basically once they figured out he was strong enough to lift someone over his head and throw him, they're like, oh, throw this guy. Throw this guy.
And so like Blade faces him, and Blade is supposedly a master swordsman, but he just gets wrecked.
Yeah.
Like He-Man just totally beats his ass. One sword versus two, it's over. And I know in the cartoon, a lot of times He-Man will have a shield. No shield in this movie.
No.
He just barbarian mode.
Yeah. And then he wouldn't have a hand free for the laser rifle when he gets one.
Yeah, that's true.
And Julie manages to shoot Sarad. Julie's very competent.
Yeah, it turns out.
She threw the bottle of ammonia in Beastman's face and gave him a cool scar, and she shot Sarad. Like, Julie's adapting to sci-fi nonsense pretty quickly.
The only criticism I have for this part of the movie was really when you get those close-ups of He-Man, particularly when he's like holding Julie and whatnot, and you get those kind of close-in shots, his armor looks like it's made out of rubber.
Yeah.
Because it is.
The budget.
But Dolph is not... He could have worn real armor and it wouldn't have weighed him down. It was just a set of pauldrons. There's no reason they couldn't have given him like real armor. It's not that expensive.
When you look close at the costuming in this, the budget really shows.
Yeah, well, I mean,
the materials used are of the cheapest quality.
Even Evil Lynn, if you look at her at if you look at the specifics of her costumes, the whole like ensemble looks really good, but when you just like look at individual pieces, you can tell it's kind of a cobbled together thing. Skeletor similarly, until the last scene, which we will get to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically he wrecks them and all of that and kicks a bunch of ass, and then we kind of cut over to this cop. And he's like hassling.
Oh no, you skipped over Charlie's music shop, because that's what Kevin's been doing. Is he's been talking to Charlie at the music shop about what this thing is.
I just want to say they should have cut most of the Kevin and cop side plot stuff. It's all lame.
Yeah, but so while they're at the music shop, to get to your point, they see all these cop cars going by. Charlie, the music shop guy, is a weirdo, so he has a police scanner. He pulls that out. And they see that something happened, like there was a fire and stuff at the school.
Yeah.
So Kevin jams over there.
And he's like, oh my God, Julie was at the school.
Yeah. And so this is where we meet Lubbock, Detective Lubbock. Okay.
I never wrote his name down. I just wrote bald cop.
I wrote, all Lubbocks are bastards. Because he is a dick. He's a dick to Kevin, and he's a dick through the entire movie.
Yeah, he's just a shitty trope. Like, he's the shitty trope of the power-hungry cop who only cares about interpersonal dominance, not about laws or whatnot. He starts rattling off trumped-up charges he can make up to charge Kevin with. It's like, dude, you're just the worst.
So he shouts a bunch of shit at the unis, the regular cops, takes Kevin in his car, and they're going to go to Julie's house.
Yes.
And he's a rogue cop, right? Like, he's like, I'm going off on my own thing.
Yeah. The old trope of the cop doing his own thing for the betterment of whatever, his own ego.
Yeah. Back with the heroes, Gwildor shows up with a pink Cadillac that he's modified to run on sci-fi nonsense.
On neutrinos, right? And so, yeah, and Tila is a little jelly that, He-Man has picked up this lady.
He showed up with a girl. Yeah, not a good look, Tila. Be more self-confident.
Yeah. Tila, way cooler than Julie. And Tila, like 100% of the time.
Tila's a grown woman.
Yeah, this is a kid.
Yeah, don't be jealous of kids. He-Man's much too pure to go after anyone, realistically, but definitely not to go after a kid.
Yeah, so I thought that was a little bit, I don't know, sus. But then, we have, of course, like you mentioned, Gwildor shows up with the native transportation, a primitive land boat. And it's just like... okay, whatever, Gwildor. And then we kind of cut back to Skeletor.
Yeah.
And he's got the mercs, and he's interrogating them about, like, what happened. Full on. It's like Skeletor is a combination of Vader and the Emperor. He's like two guys into one.
He is both. Yeah. I'm with it. That's true.
And he shoots force lightning and kills Snaky Boy. Whatever his name is. Sarad.
He killed the wrong guy. He should have killed Karg. Karg is the lamest of the four of them.
Yeah, whatever I just called him small face guy. I mean, I just never cared about that guy. He's lame.
But I think he gets rid of Sarad because he can't, like, grovel. You know what I mean? Like, Karg grovels good, and Skeletor's into that because he's a narcissist.
Of course.
And Sarad just makes snake noises, and so he's like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, zap, snake guy out.
Yeah, and so we get our first instance of force lightning, and that's pretty cool. And then Evil Lynn is like trying to give some helpful suggestions and be, just like what a lieutenant's supposed to do. And then Vader's like, all right, now you're part of these. You replace Sarad. You're now leading this idiot show. And she gives him the look like, ugh, I'm not a peasant. I didn't mean for me to go.
Yeah.
And
then you should not have spoken.
Exactly. Skeletor does not care. He's a dick. Go back to Kevin and the cop plot where they go over to Julie's house. Pointless plot. Don't give a shit what happens here.
Yeah, it's all pretty lame. But Kevin, he's smart enough to know that he doesn't want Lubbock to find Julie for whatever reason. So he's faking it on the phone when Julie calls.
Yeah, because Lubbock doesn't have a warrant. He shouldn't even be there.
Yeah, I don't know. He's taking advantage of the ignorance of kids, basically. He's in Julie's house.
All right, divers, listen up. Am I being detained? Am I free to go? I want a lawyer. That's the only things you're obligated to say to a cop. Say nothing else.
So Kevin actually says am I being arrested? It's the first thing he asks Lubbock right before he gets into the car with him and goes to a second location. And you're right. I mean, it would not have advanced the plot as much. But when he said no, or not arresting
said,
you,
am I free to go?
Yeah.
And if he says no, you say, am I being detained? You know, it's a circular thing.
Yeah.
If you're not being detained, you're free to go. Therefore, go.
Mm-hmm. But no.
Don't let the guy with the gun bully you.
But Kevin did. And so now he's over there microwaving chicken and trying to stall
Yeah,
at
like
Julie's
a whole bucket, like a savage. What kind of a maniac just puts a bucket of chicken or ribs or whatever in the microwave, and sides and all, right? Like,
yeah, he just threw the whole bucket in there, starts microwaving it. He wants those soggy bones, man. Like, you know, after you've reheated that bucket of chicken the way that the drumstick droops.
That's so gross, dude. I hate so yeah, that whole plot was pointless. And so then we cut over to Evil Lynn, and she's got some sort of technological device where she's scanning the scene where they fought the attorney in. Mm-hmm. And she and previously the explanation had been that they were outnumbered.
Yeah.
And she says, outnumbered, outclassed is more like it. And I was like,
accurate.
Sick burn, Evil Lynn. These guys are idiots.
Yeah, I think they always refer to the Earthlings as natives.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, and a native girl. It must have been she who tipped the scales.
Yeah, exactly. Like these guys, no, not so much.
Yeah.
And so then they follow over to Julie's house, right?
Yeah, because Lubbock is thumping on the key like a caveman with his knuckles.
Yeah.
And he activates it, and they get a lock on it. And there's a little bit of nonsense with them blowing up the microwave, but
yeah, whatever.
Basically, Lubbock, he goes, this isn't a synthesizer. It's something else.
This is a Russian, what does he call it? Like a Russian spy synthesizer or something stupid like that.
It's 1987. That tracks with Lubbock. So he goes off to Charlie's music shop to find out what this thing is, leaves Kevin there, and Kevin gets bushwhacked by the bad guys.
Yeah, Beastman just whoops Kevin's ass. Like,
Beastman excels at beating up unarmed humans. Like, he wrecks a regular human that's not prepared for a Beastman. And he does that open hand strike to the face and just beats the shit out of them.
Yeah, Beastman kind of a jerk too, but that's his job. He's supposed to be...
he's a goon.
He's a goon, yeah. So then they capture Kevin and they put this collar on him that makes him cooperate and tell the truth.
Very creepy. Especially when you're a little kid, that's a very creepy
Yeah,
scene.
you're like, oh man, is that real?
Yeah.
Did that to me?
I don't want that.
Oh shit.
And Evelyn's very scary.
Yeah.
And I would have told her anything. I'm confident.
I'm pretty sure without the collar, I would have been pretty compliant.
But don't make your Beastman hit me anymore. I'll just tell you.
I'd be like, do you have room in your group for another? Give me Blade's spare sword. I'm good to go.
I could be the lizard guy.
And then there's kind of like...
They wreck Julie's house.
They travel on this like kind of space yacht thing that flies around. Pretty cool.
Very Jabba sand barge.
Exactly. It's like a sand barge, but cooler and more grim. Mm-hmm. And I think it's cooler than the neutrino powered pink caddy, but whatever.
Yeah. So basically, they find out the policeman took it, so they go get in their transport and they're tracking the key. Mm-hmm. And He-Man and the good guys show up to rescue Kevin. Tila's always quick to draw down on people. Kevin like picks up a chair to defend himself, and Tila's like, blast! Like she shoots first, basically in every situation.
She the Greedo or the Han of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tila doesn't mess around.
Yeah, so I mean, at some point in this, like, Gwildor enters the scene again, and he's wearing like this ridiculous outfit. I don't even know where he got that.
Because basically, the bad guys had torn up all the moving boxes in Julie's house.
Yeah,
and so there's clothes strewn everywhere, and Gwildor cobbles together a disguise of like a feather boa and sunglasses and stuff.
Just looks stupid.
Yeah. And that's right. I wrote in my notes, I go, does Gwildor's comic relief ever land?
No.
Occasionally, but very seldom.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it would have been cooler.
I laugh when he drinks the barbecue sauce.
Sure.
Every time. I was like, it's all in his beard.
I would have liked him if he was more like a techno wizard that was like cool and badass and useful.
I like when he's more Yoda-ish.
Okay.
You know, like sometimes he's got wisdom.
He likes to like spit out one-liners that make sense.
But I don't like when he's just doing goofy stuff because it's funny.
Yeah, so there's like this battle at the pawn shop with like Man-at-Arms and with who has a grenade, and they're like
he's got 2 grenades on his back,
fighting stormtroopers and
So our whole gang, everyone goes to Charlie's. We're on a intersecting course. Everyone is going to Charlie's music shop where Lubbock is questioning Charlie.
Yes.
He-Man shows up with his gang, and Lubbock he's like, whoa, what do you know? The mountain comes to Muhammad. Why do I have the feeling I've been looking for you all night? And He-Man's like, give me that. Take him in the back, and they set up defenses, basically, and like, we'll make our stand here at Charlie's music shop.
Yeah, and Tila pops off a one-liner after shooting something. She's like, woman at arms. And I was like, is that her girl power move? Is this progressive for the 80s? Because I think she was actually cooler just being badass Tila without that one-liner.
I laughed when I was a kid. It doesn't land as well now, especially because like she damn near looks right into the camera and says it.
Yeah,
like
she pulls a Deadpool for sure.
Yeah, like she's supposed to be looking at He-Man, but she looks right. She looks you dead in the eyes and says "woman at arms," and you go groan.
Yeah, like ugh. And I'm not groaning because I think the idea of a woman soldier is dumb. Just that you don't have to point it out because you're just actually doing it.
Yeah.
That is pointing it out.
The fact that she is always 100% competent through the whole movie and is the most ready for action out of anybody, like that already says everything about her.
Yeah, you don't really need that line. It was dumb. But maybe in the 80s that was progressive, and maybe I was trying to couch it like maybe they were trying to say, you know, this is what girl power looks like because it wasn't huge back then. I don't know.
Well, and her father is literally
Man at Arms,
referred to as Man at Arms. Yeah, his name is Duncan, but he just goes by Man at Arms.
He is Prince Adam's Man at Arms. It's a position.
Yeah, so like it's fine. It's fine. It comes off as corny, but if that's the thing that's going to derail you in this movie, oof, you didn't make it this far.
But yeah, for sure. I mean, this whole time the cop is like being a power tripping prick.
Yeah, he gets taken captive very easily. Like he doesn't put up much resistance, and he's just back there. Like basically, when Tila goes out to fight, she gives Kevin his gun, and he's like, "Give me back the gun." And they have the dumbest like rolling around on the floor fight, like 2 kids. And it's like, oh my God.
That's one of the points where I said the fight choreography in this movie was not that good. That was lame. Because somebody would have just started like ground and pound punching somebody and they would have been out. It would have been done.
Well, the way they portray Lubbock as like a Korea War vet and this like hard-nosed cop, he couldn't get that gun from that kid. I just don't believe it. Like either he's not who he portrays himself as, or that's just over in seconds. He just takes the gun.
I mean, your mental image of the keyboard player in an 80s synth pop band is not a guy who can wrestle a gun away from a Korean War veteran cop.
Accurate. Yes, I don't think those do not match up for me.
Like, watch a Devo video. Look at the guy at the keyboard.
Imagine him fighting, Lee Marvin or something.
Yeah, some grizzled dude who
Arlie Ermy.
That's just not going to happen.
One of those dudes from that generation. Yeah. Anyways, they have the stupidest fight, and while all that nonsense is going on, Evelyn shows up disguised as Julie's mom and lures Julie into the alley.
Yeah, this was like, I was like, okay, so Julie goes outside or looks outside, and it's like, oh, my mom. she's alive and she's here during the gunfight? Oh, great. And then mom's like, I've been on a secret mission. And I'm like, really?
Everyone will believe.
And then like Julie must be the dumbest person in the world, because she's like, my mom, who's been dead, who's on a secret mission, says go get the magical key, the boom tube thing, and bring it to her. This could definitely not be a trap or a deception.
Well, let's hand wave this a little bit to maintain our immersion and our illusion here. There's a low level enchantment going
Okay,
on.
she casts a suggestion spell.
Yes.
Okay, we'll give it to her there. D&D logic.
Mm-hmm. Because she appears as her mother and she gives the suggestion, Julie falls for it. Julie rolled a 1.
She failed her save and she had to go and do what she was told. Okay.
Yes.
If you're trying to say that Evil Lynn magicked her into being a complete idiot, okay, gotcha.
Okay.
That works. But otherwise, no. Because curse you, sudden but inevitable betrayal, Mom. It was Evil Lynn all along.
Yeah. Because Evil Lynn has the history of doing this, because that's very similar to what Gwildor described her doing to him at the beginning of the movie, is that she duped him into giving her the key too.
Yeah, she's tricksy. She's doing the Lord's work.
The Dark Lord.
Yeah.
Charlie's music shop is destroyed, on fire, and littered with dead bodies. It is a horror show out there.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. And so like,
and Lubbock doesn't care. He says, Charlie, you got a gun for holdups?
yeah, he grabs the shotgun and he goes out and there's like 5 stormtroopers and he's like, hey, stop. It's like, really, dude?
And to me, this is the saddest thing in the whole movie. They blow up that Plymouth Barracuda for no good reason.
I noted that too. I was like, why'd they blow that car up? It's so cool.
I was like, oh man, look at that red Cuda. and they blow it up, and it's like, but it wasn't a classic car then. It's like a 10-year-old car or less.
Sure.
Now you look at it and you're like, oh my God, that's a cool car. But it was an old car when they blew it up.
It wasn't awesome at that time.
Oh, but it was. That was a good car.
Yeah. So then this portal opens, and first thing you see is like hoverboard stormtroopers coming through on these flying discs, and they're shooting stuff, and you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then Skeletor's dope ass floating palanquin floats through, and I'm just like, okay, that's the shit. Sitting on a floating throne platform coming through a magical portal. I feel like that's on my bucket list.
Yeah, you need an Eternian air transport.
and a cosmic key. So I can
you like cosmic keys.
It could be a boom tube.
So yeah, I mean, I wrote down there's a little bit unconvincing effects with the air Centurions.
Oh, they were bad.
They're pretty bad.
Straight up bad.
There's a lot of Dolph Lundgren standing on the back of a truck, I assume, while they drive down a street.
Yeah, and he's got the rifle and stuff, and he's like,
And the guys in the air Centurions, I mean, they're not even in stormtrooper outfits. It's more like motocross outfits.
Yeah, it's lighter gear because they're flying, I guess, logically speaking. And it was at this point in the movie that I noted that this movie doesn't have a plot. There's a MacGuffin, which is the key.
Yeah.
A good guy team, a bad guy team, and then a fish out of water setting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You put that all together.
Literally no plot. That's not a plot. Those are elements. But it's just, I just at that point I was like, we're pretty far through the movie, but we still haven't hit a plot. Like, okay, I guess those things will have to suffice. And so cut back to sick green screen work from Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
And once
he uses the grabber again and gets the key back.
Once again, grapple claw plus key. They're just it's like, tell me a better match, you know? It's like,
and Evil Lynn is not pleased.
She's
like,
super pissed. Because then she looks like an asshat.
Yeah. Skeletor does a cool thing where he on his whole floating platform sneaks up on the group while they're hiding out on this rooftop. And he just slowly raises up and then injects himself into the conversation while they're planning.
It reminded me, I don't know if you're an Office fan or if you've watched The Office, but when Andy Bernard sneaks up on Dwight with his Prius by driving it so slow, it's silent. He sneaks up on him and pins him against the hedge. It reminded me of that.
I don't know who Andy Bernard is.
The Nard Dog off of The Office. It's hilarious. That show's great. If you haven't watched The Office,
I only watched the British Office.
Oh, God.
I'm one of those people. I was like,
well, I mean, you just did talk about standing in line at Record Store Day.
The thing was, the first season, not to tangent too long on this, the first season of The Office was a dead-ass copy of the first season of the British version.
Okay.
And I just was like, I've already watched this show. And so I tuned out. And then it went on for many, many seasons and developed its own world and everything. But I just never came back to it.
So I'm going to blow your mind here. The first season was a copy, but it was actually better. And the second season and third and so on as it goes, it takes the seeds that were planted in the British Office and it actually develops those characters more so that they're both more believable and funnier.
I think that's probably true.
Just because the writing is so good.
Yeah. And it went on so much longer because there's just 2 seasons of the original, I think, and the Christmas special.
But I mean, everyone's going to say it can't be better than the first season. The remake can't be better than the original, but it actually was.
I think it probably is, but it's just like that's why I didn't stick with it, and I've just never
time to circle back around.
Go back to The Office. I just feel like I missed the boat on The Office. I don't know.
It's timeless. It's like
I feel like my time is better spent covering more relevant things like 1987 children's fantasy movies.
That's true. I mean, or you could like watch the Friends reunion special or something like that.
It was pretty good. It was heartwarming.
Oh God, you watched it?
Yeah, of course I did.
Oh no. Tell me you haven't watched every episode of Friends.
Of course I have.
And you haven't watched The Office?
So the thing, we're going on a real long tangent here. Lisa loved Friends and she had she had the VHS tapes and then the DVDs. And so just by the nature of it was always on, I saw all of it. And so like I always had this sort of like, I don't like Friends mentality, but the reality, that's just a fantasy I told myself. And actually I watched all of Friends and a lot of it's very funny. But it was like I was indoctrinated into Friends. I was Stockholmed into it.
Yeah, I was going to say that wouldn't have been a thing if it hadn't been forced.
No, I would have never watched it because I'm too cool for it. But that's not a good way to live your life.
I don't know. It's worked so far.
Let's get back to this.
All right.
Skeletor shows up.
He's immune to blasters, by the way.
He is. It's very Darth Vader. Like when Han Solo tries to shoot Skeletor's like, no.
That's not a thing. You can't shoot me, dude.
Yeah. No.
I like that.
And basically, he kind of leans on Superman, or not Superman, He-Man.
Yeah, same guy.
Yeah. There's strong similarity. He even has the red cape in this. But he leans on him, give yourself up and I won't kill your friends. And basically, He-Man is like, after wrestling stormtroopers for a while, he concedes, all right, I'll go with Skeletor. You guys can stay here on Earth.
It's exactly like in Man of Steel when Superman surrenders himself.
It is. Yeah. It's a heroic sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's what heroes do.
He didn't have to do that, but he did. And of course, Skeletor is not... he's a fool sometimes because he lets Tila and Men-at-Arms go free.
Yeah. Because he doesn't... basically...
That's a big mistake.
He zapped the Cosmic Key. He zapped Julie, but that was really just collateral damage because he doesn't care about Julie.
Yeah, she's a native.
But he fried the Cosmic Key and it basically erased all of the tones out of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's useless. So they're trapped here on Earth. And his premise is as long as He-Man's friends are here and he's not killing them, He-Man is his slave.
When he could have just force lightning them like they did Snaky Boy and it would be over.
Yeah, it's not. Skeletor wants to see He-Man broken. He said this earlier. He wants him totally broken and kneeling.
Yes.
And so this is just a power move. I can leave all your friends here if it makes you come along.
Yeah, and I mean, that zapping of Julie turns out to be important because after Skeletor and all them leave, she's poisoned, and Man-at-Arms is basically splaining. She's poisoned.
He Man-at-Arms splains her.
Yeah, it's gonna just spread. Unless we can figure out something, it's over. But the key is fried. We're trapped.
Only the sorceress can save her.
Yes. And so, of course, cue Kevin, the song maker.
Well, it's like Gwildor has been talking about tones all of this time, and Kevin finally just had the epiphany what tones are.
You mean the notes? The sounds?
Yeah. He's like, you mean the melody that the key played when you push the button? And he just starts whistling it. And he's like, and they're like, why didn't you tell me you were a song maker? Oh, this is why fate brought us together. And it's like, I don't know. Why didn't you ask me what
Yeah. And I was just like, okay, Kevin, just fuck off. You've been terrible this whole movie.
But they do figure out Kevin knows the melody, even though Gwildor doesn't remember it.
Yeah, Gwildor doesn't remember it. What a chump.
He programmed it, but he doesn't remember it.
Yeah.
With the sci-fi nonsense, Teela's got a tesseract, which earlier that was her personal locator, but now it's a tesseract. Man-at-Arms has some other gadget that Gwildor needs, and he can basically, if they get a keyboard from the music shop, they can reassemble the key and open up a portal.
Yes. And we cut over to Skeletor's moment of triumph. Sorceress is there, withered and ancient in the force field. Looks like she's about to die. He-Man is held captive. His
bondage daddy harness off. He's just in the panties now.
Yeah, and I it's like this is Skeletor's Charlie Sheen moment. He's like #Tiger Blood.
He's winning.
Yeah, he's winning. Because this is like everything's like coming up Millhouse.
And kind of everybody's winning in this scene. All the bad guys are winning. Blade has the power sword, and he's just strutting around with that sword. He's like, yes, I've got the sword of Grayskull. Evil Lynn just, she's a high key kinkster, and so all of this like chaining up He-Man and whipping him thing, that's her jam. Like she's super into it.
Well, and Blade is the one who gets to go and grab the like laser lash.
Yeah,
and he's like randomly lashing him, and Skeletor's just watching on. He seems to be loving it.
He's high key kinky too.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah. And then of course Skeletor has to blog it, because if it's not on the internet, it doesn't happen.
He goes, hold on, I'm going live with this.
Yeah. He's like, I am now the God Emperor of Eternia. And just maybe I'm conservative, but I would have waited until after I was actually had the power.
Oh, but he wants the rebels who are still hands on their head, like they've got stormtroopers behind them and the hands on their head, which was the same thing the people of Eternia are doing last time we saw them.
Yeah, that's just how they live
and
now.
It's been several chronons or whatever made up unit of time they use since last time we saw them. What else is going on?
I mean,
back to Gwildor. He's got his nonsense rigged up, and Lubbock finds them, and he runs over just in time to get teleported with them to Eternia. And
is this right when Skeletor gets the power?
Yeah, like just before, because we have like the whole the Skeletor monologue, which is epic. I have the whole thing on here, but I probably shouldn't read all of it.
Yeah, probably not.
Oh, but
He-Man kneels before no man. That is established. He will not kneel. He just takes the beating.
Yeah, I love all this stuff where Skeletor, where he's getting the cosmic power, going full like Jack Kirby New Gods, and he's like, the power fills me, and he's just up there like monologuing. Yeah,
I love Skeletor's fucking staff.
The Havoc staff?
Oh, with the goat head and stuff on the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Have some fucking respect, He-Man. Just take a knee. Respect the staff.
He won't do it. Even Skeletor goes full God mode.
And he's got this ascendant, like, golden Skeletor armor where he looks like some kind of sun god. It's badass.
And he's like, kneel! And just starts zapping He-Man.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
It's all great. He's like, you are no longer my equal. I'm more than man, more than life. I am a god.
Yeah, that's kind of where we have the dope 80s keyboard riff, and they teleport in.
Yeah.
With they even bring the fucking cop.
Yeah. Just because he got there in time, basically.
To get in the bubble, and half a car.
They cut another classic car.
They cut the caddy in half. And He-Man is like, and Skeletor's like, where are your friends now?
Yeah.
And there they are.
Tell me about the loneliness of good, He-Man. Is it equal to the loneliness of evil?
I think no, because evil has henchmen.
He-Man's got homies, though, which homies beat henchmen.
I don't know, man.
But so Skeletor makes this mistake of, he's like, kill them. And He-Man goes, you said you wouldn't kill them. He's like, I lied.
And He-Man gets all barbarian foo.
Yeah. Rips the chains out, goes over and gets his sword and does the triumphant, I have the power.
He grabs one of those sweet ass rifles before the sword, and he does barbarian with a rifle for a minute, and then he gets the sword, does the full I have the power, starts kicking ass, and starts fighting Skeletor. And this fight choreography, not that good. I'm wondering if it was just because the actor playing Skeletor was not a super athletic dude.
No. So backstory on all of this nonsense. They had a big epic fight choreographed between Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella, or Langella, and Langella was in super primo shape.
Okay.
And so they were ready to do this. They got the axe from the studio. You're done. No more money. The shoot is over. Before they filmed the final scene.
Oh, no.
So that is why they come in and they shot it. Later, Dolph Lundgren and the guy that plays Blade shot the scene together with him in the Skeletor
in the armor,
and they shot it in the dark with the laser lights.
Yeah, because it stopped being it stopped being like the well lit throne room on the main stage, and it's like, how'd you get backstage, dude? Like, why are you on like a thin platform?
So basically, they shot that final battle after filming
off the books.
Yeah, after filming had wrapped on the movie, and that's why there's like none of the trappings are there, because they almost didn't have a final battle to use in the movie.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess it's good for what it was, but I mean, it wasn't good compared to what I expected. There were better fight scenes in this movie than that.
And this was supposed to be the biggie.
Yeah.
Like, it was supposed to be like a monster fight scene, and it just, I mean, basically they were lucky to get what they got because they got told to stop, but it was not what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, and then at the end of the fight, we get a Skeletor falling scene straight out of Star Wars.
Emperor down the shaft is what I called it.
Yeah, and of course, somewhere in the middle of there, Evil Lynn makes her tactical retreat.
Yeah, she gets Beastman and Karg, and they're like, let's fuck on out of here.
This is no good.
We live to fight another day.
And then it kind of cuts to like a victory scene. Was this done like...
It must have been already shot.
Yeah, so like they cut to a victory scene, and that fucking bozo cop is sitting up there, and he's got some lady on his lap, random lady, like no lines.
So I'll say I've got thoughts about that too.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, okay, I'll do it here. So we're talking about the budget of this movie.
Yeah.
Initially, they were not supposed to teleport directly into the throne room like that. There was supposed to be a prolonged thing where basically
they fight through Castle Grayskull.
Yes, they make their way there, and they go through the jungle. Like, they land in the jungle, and they have to make their way through the tunnels under Grayskull, and they meet more of the rebels. They meet She-Ra. They're like,
ooh, She-Ra.
There was like a whole lot more stuff, where I assume Lubbock should have had like a redemptive arc, but essentially he shoots like 6 stormtroopers with a shotgun and gets to be a hero.
Okay, so if they were supposed to have made him as one of the crew through some stuff, maybe, but as it sits, it's just like he's a bozo that he shouldn't have been up there. Like, why would He-Man have him in his court?
He just lucked into it.
Yeah, that's just ugh. And I just was like, I was kind of disgusted by it, but that's when we get when Julie and Kevin are about to head back, that's when they do the famous goodbye.
Well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye, say good journey.
And we get the story of why you never say good journey, and it doesn't make any sense.
Just live the journey, for every destination is but a doorway to another.
Whoa.
Wow, Man-at-Arms, good one.
That's some bullshit. Like that.
Well, I mean, listen, think about it. Live the journey. So you,
okay, that's good.
There's a saying, like a song lyric I really like. There is no destination. There is only the journey.
Yeah, it's very zen.
And then the idea is for every destination is just the doorway to another journey. Yeah. So essentially,
no, I get it.
No destination is even. There's no such thing as a destination. It's just journey.
Yeah, and it's never really goodbye because you don't know what's behind that next doorway.
Just good journey.
It's just good journey. Yeah.
So I mean,
I like the spirit
works.
of it.
Maybe the line wasn't so good. He was trying to be a little Yoda.
He could have workshopped that.
He turned out a little grandpa.
And Gwildor reveals kind of last second he can send them anywhere in history.
Just randomly, I could have done this at any time. We could have done this well before shit went sideways.
There's a reason for it, which I brought in the comic book adaptation, and it's explained more that the humans on Eternia they're actually from Earth. They're from Earth's future, from the year 2221, and so basically that there's this connection between Earth and Eternia, and that time is relative depending on the tones you use, and you can move back and forth through time. It's more hashed out. It's very like last minute. Oh, by the way, I can send you any time in history. And Julie's like, send me back before my parents died.
And they get back. And by the way, I would have stayed in Eternia.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. So they get sent back, and Julie wakes up, and for some reason, she didn't just like go through the portal like every other boom tube. She wakes up in her bed because she was sent to a different time, I guess.
Yeah.
And she's wearing like a granny nightgown.
Lisa assures me that this was normal for girls to wear those kind of nightgowns in the 80s.
Like 18, 19-year-old girls wore granny nightgowns.
I'm suspicious, but Lisa says it was definitely the fashion of the time. But
okay,
I don't know. Confirm with this, Dyrus. Did you wear a granny nightgown in 1987? Were you alive in 1987?
I think Chris might have.
Maybe.
Just kidding. Anyway, so she grabs the keys to the plane because Dad's a pilot. Why is everyone rich in every movie? Like even in Labyrinth. Like what's her name? Like
they're very privileged, right?
Yeah.
Because that was the whole thing.
Things don't happen to poor people.
Their plane crashed while they were flying to Catalina for the day.
Yeah, doing on their own on his Dad's private plane that he owns and flies. Anyway, so she steals the keys and runs off, and she's running down the street, and she meets Kevin, who's dressed exactly the same in his leather jacket.
Kevin sleeps in that.
Yeah, that's how he lives.
Kevin sleeps in his van.
I bet the van was like a block away. And he got out of the van and he's running towards. He's gonna like throw a rock at her window.
Yeah.
And
Can I
turns
use your
out,
shower?
It turns out she's running down the road in her granny nightie. Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah,
Eternia.
Yay. And he shows her. It shows them the little gimmick, whatever the thing was.
A little globe the sorceress gave them, and they see He-Man and his panties in it.
Yeah, and that's the end of the movie.
That's it.
There you go, divers. That was that. So. What worked for you? What were your personal highlights of this movie?
What worked for me? Number one, this is obvious. Frank Langella's Skeletor. God status. He is the best. I love him so much. I love everything he says through the entire movie. Number two, William Stout with a little help from Jean Gerard, aka Mobius, for their production design. I love all the reimaginings of the costumes, like as more sci-fi, more sword and sorcery, more gritty versions of the looks of all the characters. I really love all of that stuff. And Bill Conti's score, I really, even though it's very derivative of John Williams, intentionally, I'm sure, I think it's a really epic sounding score, and it lends this sort of gravitas to everything in the movie. It makes it feel more epic than it actually is.
Okay.
What about you? What worked for you?
Well, I think first off, this movie is fast-paced and fun. Mm-hmm. It doesn't linger on things. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it doesn't bother trying to give you the mumbo-jumbo science behind everything. It just goes with it. It's not like in the Pacific Rim sequel where they're trying to explain every little thing and give you the hard science explanation. No, there's none of that. It's just a fast-paced, fun movie, and I think that really works to its credit because it's easy to overlook some of the stuff in here.
Yeah.
Of course, I agree that Skeletor was the highlight of the movie. He's amazing. I think Dolph Lundgren was an amazing cast in this. He did a great job. I really liked him. And I guess I thought that the way they made this dark was cool. It's not a sunny cartoon. It's not I don't know. They made it somehow gritty, even though it has like really shallow source material to work from. So I like that.
Yeah.
So what didn't work for you?
What didn't work? It's too derivative of other media. Like it's, and you kind of add, you can see how they kind of pitch this, like it's Conan plus Superman plus Star Wars. That's it. And we're just going to be stealing plot elements from other stuff.
Conan is Superman and he's fighting Vader Emperor.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's very easy just to write this off as like a kind of a dollar store Star Wars.
Yeah, I think that's easily done.
Yeah. Number two, the budgetary problems that Canon was going through become very visible at times. Like that final battle that they had to guerrilla shoot their final scene of the movie because they ran out of money. Like, that hurts. Like, that really damages the film.
Yeah, that battle should have been epic. It shouldn't have been so anticlimactic.
Yeah, and then the all Lubbock's are bastards. I don't think he earned his spot up there on the dais with the other heroes of this. Like, he did nothing but kind of drag the team down up until the end.
He was actually a villain. He was never a hero.
And then because he's getting shot at, he got involved and just like kills 6 stormtroopers who die easy.
Yeah.
And basically he's like, and now I get to live in a castle.
Yeah.
So that didn't work for me. What about you? What didn't work for you?
The fact that this movie doesn't really have a plot, that was not super great. It was just super linear, extremely predictable. And that, whatever. I think that there was some bad acting. I did not appreciate the character of Kevin or of Lubbock. I think they were just not value adds for the movie. I really would have rather them just had Julie be the one who solves the cosmic key thing, or somehow
she could be a songmaker.
Yeah, there's no Kevin wasn't needed. You don't need the girl to have a boyfriend to validate that character. It's just not interesting. He was lame. The cop character was always a villain. He was just a foil. He was a thorn, which I guess if you want to have a foil or a thorn, that's fine, but he shouldn't be a redemption arc. You shouldn't be making a hero out of that guy.
Yeah. I suppose it really probably does come down to what didn't make it onto the screen, like what they didn't film, and that he maybe was valuable in the battle to get to the castle.
Who knows?
You only can judge the movie you saw.
Exactly. So our final thought segment, what is your rating on this movie?
You're gonna make me go first before you say the Metacritic and all of that stuff.
Oh, do you want to hear the IMDb, the Rotten Tomatoes, and the Metacritic before we give our ratings?
Oh, no, let's do ours first.
Okay.
Because then you won't believe.
Then it's clean, right?
Yeah. 2. It's a 2-star movie.
Okay.
I went all around on it because I love it so much. Like, I watched it twice and was like, man, I fucking love this movie, and was feeling good about it. Go, maybe it's better than I think it is. And on Amazon, it's got 4.5 stars. And
really?
Yeah, like, because it's just user ratings basically.
Oh yeah, okay. It's not critics, so just people that bought it.
Yeah,
it's product ratings, not
exactly
movie ratings.
And so I was like, maybe this is a better movie than I thought. And then I was like, I did the thing that I do, which is, what does Empire Magazine say? Because for whatever reason, that's my barometer. Empire Magazine gave it a 1 star, and I was like, okay, no, I'm crazy. This is not a good movie.
Ooh.
It's a 2. It's a 2-star movie, but that doesn't diminish my enjoyment in the slightest. It just comes down to what you said. There's no plot. There's only a premise.
Yeah, it's a problem. And just the blatant Star Wars rip-offery, and yeah, there's a lot of that. So, I mean, I rated it as a 2 as well. I wanted to give it a 3 because I liked it, and I wanted to be able to say it's a 3 because it's fun. But ultimately, it's probably only fun because I grew up with He-Man, and I really liked He-Man. I think it's still a better movie than Labyrinth, and you gave Labyrinth a 3. I gave Labyrinth a 2. I mean,
so you're on the level.
I think that this movie is, to me, what those young ladies, or now middle-aged ladies, who loved Labyrinth as a kid, this is my Labyrinth. It's a bad movie I love.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
That's a fair assessment, I think. So, and it's good to be honest about it. Like, yeah, this isn't good, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah. So IMDb gives it a 5.4 out of 10. That's what it's almost 3 stars.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes, 13%. Oof.
Yeah. Tough. That's a tough one.
And then Metacritic gives it 35%.
Okay.
So this all average jives with the 2.
Yeah.
Not that I feel like we have to have our ratings jive with their ratings, but I think that if we're being at all realistic, I mean, in our previous system, I probably would have given it like 2.5 or something like that. But it's just not quality cinema. It's poor quality cinema with high nostalgia factor.
Yeah. And as in one of the documentaries, Dolph Lundgren said something about like that he thinks that, like, basically, even though it's a bad movie, he thinks it's charming still. And I think like that really rang true to me. Like, it is charming because you can tell they're kind of swinging for the fences with no money and like under duress and kind of a lot of green talent and everything. Yeah,
I mean, they hired a really great actor for Skeletor, and they took a chance on a newer guy for He-Man.
Yeah.
I thought that those were actually really good gambles that paid off.
And to this day, Frank Langella cites this as one of his favorite roles that he's ever played.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really fun. So I guess you're gonna stop me from wrapping this one?
No, really close. The thing that makes a good bad movie is that level of care in the creation of it. Like, this is a bad movie that's very charming, very watchable, because you can tell, like, everyone's working hard.
They love this.
There's no one phoning this in. They're all doing their best with nothing.
That's true.
And so I think that's what comes through, as opposed to like a legitimately bad movie where not only is it bad, but no one cares about making it.
Yeah, everyone's there for a paycheck. It's nobody's passion project.
Yeah. They went back off the clock and secret shot their climax because they needed to wrap this movie up.
They wanted it to be good in the end. All right, so I guess that's a wrap on Masters of the Universe.
Mo 287. Okay, welcome back, divers. It's time for our final segment, the one where I ask Dave, what are you into right now?
All right. So a little while ago, I mentioned on the podcast that I was super excited for the new Critical Role miniseries that they were doing called Exandria Unlimited, which is the 8-episode miniseries that is being run by a different dungeon master. And the previous dungeon master, Matt Mercer, is going to actually be a player in this one. So this is sort of in the gap between campaign 2 before they begin campaign 3 in the fall. And so it has started, and we're a few episodes into it now.
Oh, really?
And I've been watching it. And so I wanted to bring this to the attention of the divers who may or may not have ever watched a live play Dungeons & Dragons show. It is very good. It is very approachable. This is the new dungeon master is named Abria Iyengar, and she's super good. She focuses heavily on story over mechanics, but she doesn't ignore that it's a game.
Yeah.
I like that approach. She has skill checks happen pretty commonly in the game, but also she'll let narrative trump the need for mechanical things. There's fights and stuff, but mostly it's just super good role play between the characters, the players.
Yeah.
And they have 3 veteran players with 2 core cast members from Critical Role, and then Matt, who's the dungeon master, who's the 3rd. And then there's 2 brand new players who have never been D&D players at all. They're friends of the members of the cast who they know from the LA voice actor community.
That's deep. That's a deep pool.
Yeah, they're voice actors, and they're very good. And they played a few games off, before this to get them to know how to play D&D.
Yeah.
So the characters started at 2nd level. So what I got the impression is they did a couple of sessions Abria ran a couple of sessions with people to get as 1st level and leveled them up to 2nd level. So they understood who's their character, what can their character do, anyway. It's really fun. It's lighthearted. It is not a serious, grimdark game. Yeah. There's a lot of joking that happens. It's very funny. There's a lot of irreverent comedy that occurs. And it comes from players who in previous games played characters that were very, very different than this from the core Critical Role cast. And so I just want to recommend that anybody who's interested in it, check it out. It's called Exandria Unlimited on the Critical Role Twitch channel or YouTube. They play live on Thursday nights, but they also put out the videos on Monday morning. So if you didn't catch it that night, they do a rebroadcast the next day during the day on Twitch. But then Monday they put it out on YouTube. So I've been watching them live. I was watching some of them live, but then I couldn't because my fighting practice moved to Thursdays. So I've actually been catching them a day after. But since I'm a subscriber on Twitch, I can watch the VODs anytime I want. If you're not a subscriber, you'll have to wait for Monday.
Are you watching that on your computer, or can you watch Twitch on your TV?
I can watch it on my TV if I catch it live, but you can't watch VODs on Twitch on your TV. On the TV, which is annoying. You can't cast them? I could. It's just pain. So yeah, I really dig it. Exandria Unlimited on the Critical Role channel. Give new people a chance.
I'm interested in that, and I was thinking I haven't seen that in my podcatcher. Is it not dropping into my podcast addict? And there's 3 episodes there. Yeah. So yeah, I just haven't been paying attention.
You should check it out. It's really fun. I love Matt's character. He's normally like a really serious dungeon master, and he does things, really by the book. He's playing a chaotic, neutral dwarf sorcerer with the criminal background. He's like a knavish kind of like silly ne'er-do-well, but who's kind of got like a puckish charm because he's got a high charisma, but he's dumb. Like he has below average intelligence and wisdom. The character's hilarious, and it's role played just absolutely excellently.
Does he have a beard?
I think he does have a beard.
Okay. So points to trustworthy dwarf.
Yeah, trustworthy dwarf. Yeah.
Gwildor had a beard.
Is he a dwarf?
No, he's like a Lemurian or something. Like
Lemurian.
They called him something. I'd never remembered. But Gwildor had a beard. Like that's how you know he's the good kind of dwarf.
He's trustworthy. He's like Thorin Oakenshield. Trustworthy.
More Bomber.
All right. So what are you into right now?
I'm into Loki on Disney Plus. The
I've
series,
been watching that too.
The series just wrapped.
I didn't catch the last episode yet, but
Okay.
I'm everywhere but there.
I won't spoil it. It's on Disney Plus. Michael Waldron is the head writer. Kate Herron is the director of the series, of course, starring Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson, and Sophia Di Martino, and a ton of other people that I'm not going to list out. It's my favorite by far of the three Marvel shows.
Better than Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Oh yeah, by a long
That was really good though.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean, if I'm just like measuring them on quality, is the least good of the three in my estimation.
What's the other one?
WandaVision.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched that.
But this is my favorite. It's the most tailored to my taste of the three shows.
You like the super sci-fi Marvel.
And I like it's very British, right? Like it's very Whovian, it's very Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide. I'd say it's for fans of Terry Gilliam movies. If you're into that sort of British weird esoteric stuff, it's definitely gonna be your jam. I've just really liked it. It's fresh, so I don't want to spoil it. But if you know Loki from the Marvel movies, and this is not our Loki that died in Infinity War. This is the Loki from Endgame that disappeared with the Tesseract and went off on a branch timeline.
Yeah.
And it's just been really good. And unlike the other shows, it's going to have another season.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And it also has done the most as far as setting up phase 4 of the Marvel movies.
Oh.
Where I feel like...
I was hoping there'd be no more Marvel movies.
Yeah. Disney is like, we're tired of this.
We don't like money.
No more money. Yeah. So definitely big recommend from Loki, or for Loki.
Yeah, and I will say, Divers, even though that's Nick's recommendation, I'm watching it. I don't love it as much as Nick does, but I don't love any Marvel anything as much as Nick does. So I also recommend it, and that's from an apprehensive watcher.
You're like, I don't want to watch this.
I don't like sci-fi in my Marvel, and this is a lot of sci-fi in my Marvel.
Yeah.
And so that's why I didn't like it. But it turns out I did like it. So
It's very...
because Tom Hiddleston he's fucking amazing. Like,
he's so charming.
He has a 20 charisma. The dude can do no wrong. When he's on the screen, you have to pay attention.
And you're up to episode 5, you said?
Yeah.
So you just have the last one. So you got the Richard E. Grant as classic Loki. Oh, that's good stuff too. And alligator Loki.
So don't spoil it for this diver.
Oh, everyone's seen. There's memes about.
Yeah, that's true. There's.
Have you seen the meme where Odin is telling alligator Loki that he's adopted, and it says confused alligator noises?
I do love the memes that have spawned from that show. Get the man a jet ski.
Right? I mean, I can't.
Watch the movie. Or watch the show. It's good.
The show.
It's only 6 episodes. That's easy. All right, cool.
Well, want to give them the call to action?
Yeah. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher and rate us generously. A 5-star review costs you nothing, but means everything to us. And I want to say, subscribe to us on YouTube. It might actually be one of the easiest places to consume our episodes.
Smash that subscribe button and ring the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell. Forgot. Yeah, ring the bell.
Yeah, you can find us on all social media platforms across the metaverse as Deep Dive the Meta, and we've got our cool new logo from Jason Roberts.
Yes.
So be looking for that. It took us some finagling to get it the right size to fit in the bubble.
I had to do a little work on that.
And we're on oh my god, we're on Twitter, which is Dave preferred. We're on Instagram, which I like, but we're also on Pinterest, which nobody likes.
All right, well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye, say good journey.
You're not going to finish that?
Wait.
Live the journey, for every destination is but a doorway to another.
Oh, thank you, Man at Arms.
All right.